Hello everyone and welcome back to another Star Wars figure review. We're going to take a look at some more Black Series 6-inch figures today, and once again we're going to take a look at a store exclusive, this time from Walgreens, and it is of course none other than everyone's favourite protocol droid, Goldenrod himself, C-3PO. This is an absolutely awesome figure, perhaps one of the most highly anticipated and long-awaited releases in the 6-inch line. We've been promised a C-3PO figure in the Black Series for a number of years now, and it's really nice to finally see this one come to fruition. Much like buses here in England, you wait a long time for one and then two show up at the same time, as this is one of two variants of C-3PO currently available, and I'll touch base on that later on in the review. Before we take a look at this figure in more detail, as always, let's take a quick look at the packaging that he comes in. Once again, you get the Black Series logo featured at the top of the box with some very cool artwork down in the bottom corner. On the back of the box, you've got a brief description of the character, some artwork once again, and like with the Scarif Stormtrooper, there is no number in the series for this figure as it is an exclusive. Now, as I mentioned, this one is available at Walgreens in the US, and again, like with the Scarif Stormtrooper, here in the UK, several independent retailers have been able to pick this one up. StarActionFigures.co.uk is one of those, and as always, there's a link in the video description where you can purchase this figure for yourself. Now, as I mentioned, this figure is one of two C-3PO variants currently available in the 6-inch line. This particular version of C-3PO depicts him as he appears in the original trilogy, or more specifically Episode 4 A New Hope, whereas the basic 6-inch release that is in non-exclusive depicts C-3PO as seen in The Force Awakens. So that figure has the red arm and two gold legs, whereas you'll see with this figure we get two gold arms and a silver leg. There are also some subtle sculpted details that are slightly different on each release in the torso, but other than that the figures are exactly the same. So it really depends on how specific you want your C-3PO to be. For me personally, I wanted a multi-purpose C-3PO, so that's why I opted to go with the exclusive version, and I'm more than happy with this figure. I think Hasbro have done a terrific job with it, and it was more than worth the wait. Now, I'll run through articulation first, and then we'll talk about some of the details of the figure. First and foremost, we do of course have a ball joint and a hinge at the neck. Like with most 6-inch figures, this figure can look up, down, all around, get some really good posability out of the neck. We do have swivels and ball joints at the shoulders. As you can see, this metal covering, or what should be a metal covering in the film, plastic in this case, is swivel. And the elbow, or shoulder rather, underneath is on a hinge. So you've got a separately sculpted articulation point, very similar to IG-88 in many ways from the 6-inch line as well. There's no articulation in the elbows, although this figure doesn't need it, so that's not a major issue for me personally. We also have hinges at the wrists as well. There's a ball joint in the torso. We have ball hinges at the hips, hinges at the knees, and hinges and a pivot at the ankle. So more than adequate articulation for a figure such as C-3PO. Obviously he's not going to be doing cartwheels or splits or any type of intricate yoga positions, so we really don't need him to be all that articulated. So the points of articulation that Hasbro have given this one more than suffice, and I'm really happy with how this one turned out. If you were able to pick up R2-D2 from wave 1 of the 6-inch line, then this figure is going to complement R2 really well, and again, a long-awaited and highly sought-after release. Now, one of the things I really like about this figure is just the sheer amount of detail that's in it. As you can see, going back to those wires in the torso, there's some absolutely stunning detail, not just in the wires, but in the coverings underneath as well. You've got that sort of ribbed texture going on, which looks really cool. And again, the wires are nice and intricately painted as well, and that does continue around the back of the figure. The gold plating is also nicely detailed with some great sculpted textures on there. All those joints and details on the surface, which looks very cool. Obviously, silver leg on one side. Again, some fantastic sculpted detail on the torso and on the head. One thing I was really concerned about with this figure after seeing images of it online was the proportions. I thought the figure looked a little bit short, perhaps a little bit stubby in the images, but in hand this thing looks absolutely stunning. It's almost a scaled down replica of the costume worn by Anthony Daniels in the movie. It's just that good. I'm really impressed with it. One of the things that I know some people will be disappointed by is the finish of the gold plates. Obviously, the figure hasn't been given the vac metal reflective finish that many collectors really seek in their C-3PO figures. This one has more of a matte finish to it, which I personally really like. I think it looks really nice. Obviously with vac metal, that sort of paint finish is very prone to chipping and getting damaged. So I think Hasbro went the right route with this one. I think it looks really cool. And again, I'm just very impressed with this figure. I think it looks fantastic. It's an essential addition to the 6-inch collection, especially if you're collecting all the characters. Obviously C-3PO is a crucial character throughout the trilogy and throughout the saga itself, so it's really nice to see him finally immortalised in the 6-inch line. Very nice figure indeed. Once again, great detail, and I highly recommend this one. So again, if you want to pick him up for yourself, as always, be sure to hit the link down below in the video description. At the time of filming this review, this figure is currently in stock and available to buy at staractionfigures.co.uk. And again, if you see this one out in the wild or get an opportunity to purchase it online, don't hesitate, because we've been waiting too long for this figure to slip by. So there we go, that is C-3PO from the 6-inch Black Series line. Once again, the Walgreens exclusive version from the original trilogy. And I'll be back with more reviews very soon. One thing to point out as well quickly before I go is the fact that this figure doesn't come with any accessories. I can imagine that being a bit of a deal breaker for some people, but C-3PO doesn't really use any accessories in the films. The only thing I'd have liked to have seen included with this one is perhaps a comlink from A New Hope, or even a removable restraining bolt from the chest. That would have been a nice addition, but all in all, I'm not complaining. And again, this is a stunning figure. So I hope you enjoyed having a look at it, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Until then, as always, thank you for watching, keep collecting, and may the force be with you.